Welcome into Trust the Process live. We're no longer exclaiming the live part, apparently. All right. For various reasons that we don't need to go into, we are here live
Four
with you.
reasons.
Yeah, for a couple of 4 reasons, 4 total, maybe more. I don't know. We might not have gotten the full list, but I'm your host here, James Hyden, with my guys, Doc Clock, Josh Safford. What's up, man?
It's the pleasure to be part of Trust the Process live. And, ready to, Phils are back. We got playoff basketball. Not ready to talk about playoff basketball, but whatever. Let's get it. Let's get it, Max.
We're gonna
On
need
you.
to. Max Coolish, the man of many digits, and we'll figure out how many digits it's gonna take for the Sixers to win their first round playoff series. We'll get to that. Max Coolish, how are you?
I'm doing great. Just want to welcome everybody into another installment of Trust the Process Live. And, just ready to talk some ball, talk some fills. Like, spring is springing. It's not quite sprung yet, but it's springing. And, it's a great time of year. It's my favorite season.
Spring is springing, not sprung. It is springing. I like it. Well, boys, Josh, I know none of us really want to talk about this, but the way everything's been trending, we kind of have to with the Sixers going up, well, I guess they start their series down on South Broad against the Toronto Raptors. They will head to Toronto games 3 or 4. We'll get to that, but who wins? I'm gonna start out real base level here. You got to tell me who wins, Josh. Who wins this series? Then we'll dive into the minutia. Okay, so the Sixers, they start their playoff series against the Raptors on the 16th. So what is that? That's 4 days from now. I want to say that's Saturday, I believe. Friday, Saturday, whatever it is.
Saturday 6 is their first game.
So who wins this series, Josh?
Oh, boys. Banners, you got the graphic for this one by any chance? Because
I do.
for me, it is very indicative. Yeah, there it is. Not the Scotiabank Arena. Anywhere but the Scotiabank Arena. It's gotten us before with the rims. There's some vortex around it. I'm pretty sure the Sixers didn't win there for like 6 years or something crazy like that. Now, that has recently been broken. But now the Scotiabank Arena gives us a new installment of how much Toronto hates the 76ers by not allowing unvaccinated players to play there. And I will hold off on, we will get into that much more in a bit, but Matisse Thybulle not going to be able to play. A huge loss for the 76ers ball club. And gentlemen, I just don't think I can pick the Sixers to win this series in good graces. I don't want to be saying this. I don't want to be doing this, but I believe that my not final, right? Because a lot can change between now and Saturday. We got a whole week to go. But where we sit on Monday, I can't sit here and confidently pick a win for the 76ers. I have to say Raptors in 6. And I hate doing this.
Wow.
I don't like doing this. But I don't see the Sixers winning games in Scotiabank Arena without Matisse Thybulle. I don't see Joel Embiid and James Harden figuring it out all of a sudden out of nowhere. And to me, this Raptors team is just like the exact opposite of what you want to face right now if you're the Sixers. Well, honestly, I think I said this to Max last week. Who do I want the Sixers to face? No one. But the way that the Raptors play team defense, have long, lengthy guards other than Fred VanVleet, he's his own little entity. The way that Nick Nurse specifically coaches against Joel Embiid, and the way that Glenn Rivers has coached his entire career, I can't pick the Sixers to beat the Raptors. The only way I see the Sixers beating the Raptors is if you have James Harden and Joel Embiid both play up to their potential. And that is something that we have not seen since the first 3 games of James Harden's tenure of the 76ers. I want to believe it. I don't think it's impossible, but I don't think I, in good faith, without sounding like a homer, can pick the Sixers to win this series. And if they do, I think it's going to have to go 7.
Max, what do you think? Who wins this series?
I think I want to pick up right where Josh left off with the very last thing that he said. He said, if the Sixers win this game, it's going to have to be in 7. I think this series, the old adage where the series doesn't truly start until the home team loses. I don't know if this series is ever going to start.
Ooh.
I see the Sixers having a ton of issues winning in Toronto. I think you hit it right on the head, Josh. Like, we have some demons there. They are kind of not what we want to see in the playoffs right now. Thankfully, Toronto's cast of big guys are all small forwards and power forwards. Like, they don't really have a truly great center, which does give me does give me hope. Like if they still had
Right.
Marc Gasol, I'm calling this game. I'm calling this series a 0% chance the Sixers can advance,
Yikes.
regardless of circumstance.
But right now it's
Thankfully,
Kevin Birch.
exactly
Well,
right.
right.
If
Okay.
Ken Burch
Okay.
becomes the new Marc Gasol, then
So be
roll
it.
me up and throw me in the Delaware River, please, because I don't want to watch anymore. So I'll say this: the Sixers do have that one. That's the only thing I really see working in their favor. But I have to agree with Josh that I cannot, in good faith, on April
No.
12th at 7:07 p.m. pick the Sixers to win this series.
No.
I said this series might not ever get started. You know what we would have to rely on for the series to never get started? Glenn Rivers not blowing a game seven at home at that. And guess what? He has not proven that he can do that. Why would I have any faith that this guy is going to be able to outcoach in a 7-game series
No. Why should
against in my opinion, Nick Nurse is unquestionably a top 3 coach in this league. For me, the trifecta is him, Spo, and Pop as of this moment in time. The 3 of them are so clearly on a level above everybody else, I would say, in terms of success on all fronts, right? Like some other coaches are could be in that mix at some point, given their potential playoff performances this year. Like I don't think Mike Budenholzer, most recent coach to win an NBA Finals, is there. He was a Kevin Durant two shoe sizes smaller away from being fired after a second round loss again for the third straight year.
Funny how true
right?
that is.
Like it's crazy. It's crazy the butterfly effect. But for me, truly, Nurse, Pop, and Spo are the trinity of coaches in the NBA who I think, regardless of their team level of talent, will always give you a better showing than what you should get. And in a 7-game series are going to be extremely hard to outmaneuver tactically. And we've talked about this all year. Banners, I'll try to say this for you because you were the first one on the ship and I held out as long as I could. And I texted you about this a couple weeks ago. Rivers is a donkey. I can't do this anymore. I cannot do this with this guy anymore. He's so, in the latest episode of this series, he's just so wildly defensive about Paul Reed. We're not going on a Paul Reed victory tour here, man, or whatever he said. No, dude, you need to answer for your mistakes because you've been playing corpses at the backup 5 for months when it should have been Bassey and it should have been Reed developing, because now you have to play them in the playoffs because of how bad your other 2 options are. And the 2 guys you've had all season to work in again in games against the Pacers and the Hornets and the Knicks and the Magic and all these other teams that you can afford to play Embiid 30 minutes a night and not have to worry about it so much, or that's what should happen on a real basketball team. But that hasn't happened, and now you're going to have to trial these guys by fire. And I can only pray that a first round exit means that Doc Rivers is gone, because part of me is really, really worried that he's going to have to play Bassey and Reed so much that that's going to be his excuse to be able to stay another year after losing and what I assume will be an exposure job. I hope he doesn't. I really hope he doesn't. But should he decide that he can't get any other better options, I'm worried that the Bassey and Reed lack of experience excuse, he might have found a way to go so far up his own ass that he came out the other side scot-free.
One quick point I want to make before we moved on here that I think I forgot to mention, it might be the most damning thing when you really look at this matchup. The playoff pedigree and experience is so one-sided. You look at that Raptors side between Nurse, Van Vliet, and Siakam, the one guy the Sixers have with real playoff pedigree, who has proven, who has won, I guess I should say, in the playoffs, is Danny Green, who won with that Raptors team and is just a corpse of himself, to quote you, Max. The guy who is the best playoff pedigree on the Sixers is playing in the G League Championship tonight. That's Pat McCaw, who, if you will remember, has won 3 consecutive finals.
3, right? Yeah.
3 consecutive finals right there. So that's the one element I failed to mention first time around. That's really terrifying here. So, Banners, you close out. Come on, give me something. Give me something good.
It's the Sixers. Their Sixers are going to win, guys. Like it's the talent level is the talent disparity.
I'm shocked to hear that from you, Banners.
The talent disparity is just so much over. It's so much over the hill. Like Tobias Harris isn't going to average 8 points in a series. It might not be much better, but he's not going to average 8 points. Okay. Also, Gary Trent Jr. is not going to average 30 against the Sixers. So if we're taking away Gary Trent's average, come on. He's not going to average 30.
30 might be a stretch. I would not be shocked one bit if Gary Trent Jr. comes out of this first round playoff series averaging over 24 points a game. I
don't think he can, because when you have Thibault in the home games, you're going to at least cut that in half. So like the average, it's just not like you do have to transpose these numbers over at least 7 games. I think it's going to be Sixers and 6. I think it's going to be an ugly series that we're not going to like watching. And to get to the Doc Rivers point, I mean, he's not going to be here. He doesn't want to be here. The guys don't want to play with him. The comments Embiid has made,
right?
Embiid never made comments in the public about Brett Brown. Like, this is a point where Embiid's getting super sick and tired of coaches who have no clue how to coach in the modern NBA. And I think he's just went to Morey and been like, dude, this is ridiculous. Like, get me a young guy, give me somebody who knows the modern NBA. Like, hell, I'll even take Sam Cassell for a little bit. Like, somebody other than Doc Rivers who tells me that we're just not going to take responsibility. What's that?
I said I'm kind of in on Sam Cassell personally.
I would love to have Sam. I would love to see what Sam Cassell could do.
I don't know if we're gonna get to a Doc Rivers specific point. So are we? Should I make a point?
Make a point.
Yeah, make your point. What I will say, boys, I want to throw this out there. I want this to stick in the back of your mind. I want you to file this away in like the deep recesses. Is Monty Williams going to turn out to be the one that got away from the 76ers when we look back in like 20 years?
Wow.
Sure seems like it 3 years later.
Are we gonna look up and in 20 years be like, dude, like we could have had Monty Williams and Michael Bridges if Brett Brown didn't just absolutely shit on us?
Bears, I'm saying that now. I mean, come on, we don't have to wait.
Yeah, anyway, I mean they don't have any titles yet, but like, golly, that's gonna suck.
I just want to say really quick before we move on, and we don't have to touch on this. I am very much, I think in the past I've expressed the total opposite of this viewpoint. As of this moment in time, and I don't think my feelings will change on this, I want a rookie head coach. I want a guy who has some coaching experience. I'm not saying pluck somebody, who's an assistant G League coach and give him the spotlight. I want a guy who's been on the NBA bench for a couple of years, who's never had the chance. I'm sick. I'm sick of this old school mentality. I need invigoration in the mindset of this basketball team, because ever since we've gotten out of the process, and part of this is building around Embiid, who is your best player, right? That dictates itself to a more old school style of play. But I would like to see some modern NBA offense, like some truly start to finish, like bench doesn't come in and blow 15-point leads, modern NBA.
I'll tell you what, the one reason I'm jealous of the Minnesota Timberwolves is Chris Finch. Being like the Flip Saunders disciple and the young enough guy who is just like off in his own world to just be an offensive mind and not care what anybody says. He's a great coach. And again, the team seems to love him. So I agree with you, Max. I would love somebody who is just not jaded by coaches like Doc Rivers and is a modern NBA coach. Oh boy. So we said, Max, did you give me how many games it would be?
7, right?
I think it goes 7 regardless. And I have no faith in the guy to win a 1-game coaching matchup in a spot where he struggled historically.
How could you? And then we'll go back around one more time really quickly. The X factor in this series, Josh.
It's stupid. It's simple, but it's going to be what it is, and that's the coach for each team. That's really what it's going to come down to in my mind, and for that reason, I'm out. Quote Shark Tank.
Woof. Max, the X factor.
So I'm not going to include coaching in my consideration here because I think that's a clearly defined matchup in favor of the Raptors. What I will say is that 3-point shooting is going to be the X factor, and that's really easy to say. But specifically for me, I need bench 3-point shooting. I need Shake Milton in this series. I need Shake Milton to come in.
Call out.
And I need, like, he has kind of been sniper shake lately. He's been good from the corners and spot up situations. I need that this series, especially in Toronto when there's going to be minutes available because Mr. Natural Medicine didn't want to take his second dose like a little baby. It's just so we'll get there. It's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. My X factor is pretty clear. It's James Harden. If he keeps playing like he has been,
that's a great call. That's the right answer. Yeah.
It's like I really hate to be this surface level, but like, dude, like I am hoping and praying to the basketball gods that it has just been James Harden just like holding himself back and like reserving energy. But like there was that article that came out today about Kevin Durant being just like flabbergasted at the conditioning that James Harden had coming into the season. Like I don't fully believe that because of like the
press animals since the Ben Simmons trade.
Yeah,
It's been
I don't
gross
fully
what
believe
they've
it,
been
but
putting
like
in.
part of me also kind of believes it
You
from the
kind of have to
pictures I've
believe it
seen.
because that has service in the past. Like the issue came up with Chris Paul in
Yeah.
Houston and stuff, right? So like I'm inclined to give some cadence to that.
Yeah. I think it's just it's so simple. It's James Harden. Like if he plays like the first 5 games when he got here, I think this team goes on a very deep run because Maxi's going to get his. But if he plays like he has been recently,
Yeah.
this is a second
Yeah.
round exit. So it's like
All we can
it's
hope is
very
that
clearly
he rested 6 of the last 7. By the time they play Saturday, he'll
yeah.
have rested 6 of the 7 days. He played one game.
Yeah.
They have 4 off days. He rested half of that back to back.
Yeah.
If he comes out and looks like he has in game 1, we're cooked. Like if you can't see an injection of energy, like if you can't see 6 days off in the last 7 days helps him game 1, I think we'll get a pretty quick idea of where we're going to fall in the James Harden spectrum in this series.
Yeah. And it's this is what we asked for, right? Like I think I
Yeah.
think we asked for James Harden to be the X factor when we traded
Yeah.
Ben Simmons because there was like he kind of steps into that X factor because inherently Ben Simmons was a lot of the X factor last year in terms of like which one are we going to get? Are we going to get the aggressive Ben or are we going to get the passive Ben? Well, we got the passive Ben. But
Yeah, super passive.
we got somebody stepping into an X factor role, so it's we'll see. 16th of this month, the Sixers take on the Toronto Raptors in the first game of their first round series at home on South Broad. Now, a couple days after that, they will, as inherently as you do when you are playing a series against someone, you travel to their home arena. That means the 76ers as a team and whatever administration level people decide to travel with them have to cross the border into Canada. For those that do not know,
Boy.
Canada does not allow anyone to enter their country and enter the sovereign borders of Canada, wherever that may be. I'm not sure if they have any
Canada.
territories or not, without being fully vaccinated. Now, the key there is the word fully. It has recently come out and confirmed by the man himself that Matisse Thybulle is not fully, quote unquote, keep that in mind. I'm going to keep bringing that up. Fully vaccinated. He admitted to getting the first dose of the COVID vaccine, and then rationalized not getting the second one by saying he was raised in a nationally holistic household. Me personally, I think that's like going to an unaccredited college and claiming that you got a degree, but that's more here nor there. So I kind of want to go last year because I kind of want to see how this goes. But Max, how much do you think this affects the Sixers in a series? Because we saw how much it affected them in one game against the Toronto Raptors, but how do we extrapolate this across a whole series going to Toronto for 2 games off, 2 games on?
I think the most troubling part about all this is, right, like I'll leave all the personal stuff out of it. I'll just say real quick, this guy's, this whole holistic natural medicine, it's dumb, right? Like we've moved on past natural medicine quite literally over 1,000 years ago. Anyway, in terms of the basketball stuff, it's very frustrating because this guy is such an integral part of the team. But then what really concerns me is we saw we saw Glenn play 10 guys in the second round last year, right? Like to me, this just really opens the floodgates for the playoff rotation to
Bingo.
get deep early and to stay deep because that's what he'll have been accustomed to by that point. So it's obviously very frustrating when, I guess silver lining, right? Like it's not somebody more important, right? Thankfully. But on the other side, on the realistic side, like this is a huge piece for us. Like a lot of what we do defensively, revolves around Embiid and Thibault. Like there are quite literally games where Thibault is the X factor, right? Like, and if he's playing in all 7 games, I think he would deserve a shout as the real X factor because we've seen in the regular season if Matisse Thybulle is able to get it, 2+ steals and make 2+ threes in a game, like. I need to tweet at StatMuse or something to figure out what those numbers are, but I can't imagine if Thibault gets those 2 stats, at 2+ in a single game, it feels like the Sixers must have an incredibly high win percentage when he does so. So it's very frustrating, especially against a team like Toronto that isn't really like a dominant inside team. Like they're kind of been playing like almost like a college style almost where it's a lot of just like
Mm-hmm.
driving and kicking and the guys are just kind of circle offensing around the wings and eventually they'll get a matchup they like because they play they play a lot of guys who are in like that 6'5" to 6'10" height range and like Siakam and Anunoby, Scotty Barnes are all guys who are not like they're not going to break you down like a prime James Harden will off the dribble, but they're big enough where if you give them a little bit of separation, they can just elevate over you, right? And that's kind of what Toronto's game plan is. And I think having a guy like Thibault who is best known for his wingspan and his ability to play perimeter defense against guys who want to go at him, that's his best suit. And I think that's really the biggest key that we're losing here in terms of on the court stuff, right? Like we've seen Thibault, like we see Thibault at his worst when he's against slightly smaller guards who are legitimate threats to pull up and shoot from anywhere, right? Like the Suns game against Devin Booker is the best example I can pull here because obviously Devin Booker is a better scorer than any of the guards they have. But just the fact that we've seen Thibault get exposed by truly elite scorers like him and Durant, like everyone struggles with Durant, but Thibault is really no better than your average defender against Durant. And I think those are the Raptors don't have anyone who can score at that level, but they do have guys who are really good at scoring against guys who will be like Tobias Harris or Danny Green or Shake Milton's going to end up in mismatches. I think they're going to do their best to hide Harden, but then that leaves Maxey on Van Vliet in Toronto in some situations. So yeah, I'm seeing a lot of potential issues here defensively where I kind of think Matisse Thybulle can help out and will be a difference maker that we'll notice in the games in Philly.
So Josh, how does this play out, the absence of Matisse Thybulle in Scotiabank Arena over a 7-game series?
Yeah, Digits, you checked off a lot of those boxes in regards to X's and O's. I think honestly, like you kind of nailed it. And I think from a strictly matchup perspective, this isn't like the worst thing or the worst matchup for Matisse to miss, right? Like, but the one thing is what it does is it makes you one man shorter in your rotation. To me, that is by far the worst part of the Matisse Thybulle being out, is that there's no decision to be made about, oh, is Danny Green going to be in the lineup or not? No, Danny Green's going to be in the lineup last year, and I still get flashbacks to Danny Green being on Trae Young and getting blown by. But the Raptors are really good, and you kind of said it, Max, is it's not like they have like elite shooting other than Van Vliet or great play inside. They are athletic 1 through 5, and I don't think Danny Green's going to be able to keep up with some of the more speedier guys on that lineup. And the bottom line, that's 1B. What 1A is Banners, I know you hate to hear this, and at this point I hate to hear it too. It's not a question if Furkan Korkmaz is going to play. Now it's a question of when and how long Furkan Korkmaz is going to play. And goes back to what I said, I can't take the Sixers to win in good faith, knowing it's when, not if, Furkan Korkmaz is playing in this playoff series. That, to me, is the nail in the coffin about Mr. Holistic Medicine Man here, as Matisse Thybulle, is that you are now a rotation that is very thin, especially at the wing position. You are now one man shorter of maybe your what you said call the X factor, Max. I completely agree. I really think, and it's I don't hate to do this because it's just this is what happens when you're not smart. And look, I don't care about like the politics of it. It's really a matter of what Banners used to say about Aaron Rodgers, about caring about your team and wanting to put yourself in the best situation to win, because this puts you in an awful situation to win, especially on the road where the Sixers bad track records, at least in the Doc Rivers era in the playoffs. It's terrifying to me. I'm like looking at the Sixers roster and I'm looking for anyone I can put in. You can't, right? You're going to get Niang. You know what you're going to get with him. It's not a whole lot of defense in the wing position. Other than that, it's Furkan Korkmaz. List ends there. It's a really daunting task for this team, and I think it's going to be awful in Toronto, honestly. Like I just really – what do you think what would you, Max and Banner, set the odds at that the Sixers win a single game in Toronto this series? Just one. Like plus 200?
I would say probably a little lower than that just because they have so many chances to. Like, they have 3 chances to, right? So, but, like,
right.
I still think it's worth plus odds. I would say probably like 140, plus 140, plus 150.
Just to win one game, yeah.
Just to win one game out of 3.
Right.
In a road
that's
environment.
almost even money to me, boys. Like, that's... It's a first round playoff series. Like, to me, it's kind of almost even money. Like, it's...
I would take the Raptors, I guess. If that was a bet I could bet on. Give it to
I don't want to, like... I don't want to go too far into this because
We've spent
this
so
is
much
somebody on
time,
a
just not even with
yeah.
him, just in general. Like this has been going on for like almost like over 2 years. Like everybody's a little exhausted of it at this point, and rightfully
Yeah,
so.
it's a lot of my same views hold over from my rant on Aaron Rodgers. So if you
Yeah,
really want to like dig deep into my psyche and why I care and what I
hit
think,
the
which you
archives.
probably don't, you can go back and check the tape. But like Josh, you kind of nailed it on the head. Like this is it. You're part of a team. You're getting paid very well to be part of a team. You got to make some sacrifices to be part of a team every now and then, no matter whether you like it or not. That
Yep.
being said, just like Alec Boehm did yesterday, he did a decent job owning up to it,
Sure.
which I have to commend because not a lot of people would have done that in in a lot of markets across the country, let alone Philadelphia. That doesn't mean I support the decision. What this really does to me is, like I said, I think the Sixers win this series, but this dooms them for. Oh, you know what? No, you know what? No, the New York got rid of their mandate, so never mind.
Yeah.
I no longer can have a long term view on this because it is pretty much short term. Because of course the Sixers and whatever luck surrounds this city or lack thereof managed to line them up with the only place in the NBA that
How
has
about that?
such mandates. Because
Uh,
that's just karma and
if
comedy.
if the Sixers lose to the Raptors, I think that little mural on Garage is going to have to come down.
Oh yeah,
Yikes!
Well, we can all blame Red Bull for that one, which I might. So we'll move right on into the big man recently got his oh no. Where's the graphic? Oh no. Do we not have one for the Embiid?
Oh man,
That's
should
annoying,
be in
but
there. Should be in there, but you know what happened.
yeah, we'll talk about it. There it is.
there we go.
So I this is tough, guys, and I kind of want to spin this differently than the question is posed already because
Okay.
I work with Mark Farzad every morning, and he said something that terrified me to my core. It shook me to the very
Lefty
boots that I
shooketh.
was wearing. Yes, shooketh. I'm really worried that we're gonna look up and the crown jewel of the process and coronating moment of Joel Embiid's career is a scoring title from 2022. So, with that being said, he locked up the scoring title, and there's been a major media shift towards Jokic winning the MVP for back-to-back years. So,
It's
guys,
gonna happen. As much as I hate to say
all
it.
right, Max, I'm gonna let you go first. Then, what is like? Are do you share my fears? And do you think you've already kind of said it? But do you think Embiid wins this MVP?
No, unfortunately, the NBA has become the next baseball, where sometimes a simple eye test and a simple, the simple stats, team record, you know, improvement over last year, like in terms of as a player, all those kind of things. Sometimes they just get lost in the shuffle because there's fancy 6-letter acronyms like Raptor, VORP, and player efficiency and win shares and defensive, assists prevented percent or whatever the hell. Nikola Jokic is an incredible player. Him and Embiid were the best two players in the NBA this year. There's really no question about it. But when you look at what they did compared to their level of competition, Embiid had his biggest games in bigger moments. The Nuggets finished under 500 against teams that finished over 500. Um, I just think that a lot of the things that 10 years ago that were the most important for MVP, like you're basically dragging your team to a shot at the first seed when you have a max contract, all defensive player sitting out. And I understand Nuggets fans or Jokic truthers are going to say, what about Jamal Murray and what about Michael Porter Jr.? Different situations. Jamal Murray was never really expected to play this year, right? Like, I don't think you can really leverage that. And
No.
let's be honest, we here as a city have turned rightfully so on Ben Simmons. It is criminal to say Michael Porter Jr. is the same level of impact missing that Ben Simmons not being on the Sixers team had. Like, they are not similar levels. Ben Simmons was a starting point guard and a first team all defensive player. Michael Porter Jr. was a pretty good scorer, but that's about it. And sure, the Nuggets could use him. All that stuff's great. I'm going to wrap up here by saying this. I am worried that this is going to be the height of it, because what more does this guy have to do to bring home an individual award as the MVP? I quite simply don't understand it. The Sixers finished with a better record. People love to bring up all these fancy advanced stats. Look up anything defensive related. Quite literally, look up anything defensive related, and that's always been part of the center position. You're the biggest dude on the floor for your team. You need to be having an impact on defense. That was always the biggest knock on Dirk Nowitzki, just to pull a name out of that. Dirk was a lot of people said Dirk was big for nothing because he couldn't play center. He was 7 foot and couldn't do anything else. Joel Embiid put up historic scoring numbers this year and was, by numbers, by those advanced stats that people love, one of, if not the most important defenders in the league. And I'm just not really sure what else you can do to be considered more valuable than that.
Josh, what is your take?
Yeah, I mean, Digits, you nailed it. Jokic is going to win MVP, and it's sad, but I think it's as sad as we let it be sad. The people of Philadelphia need to remember this season for Joel Embiid and hold it in high reverence, whether he gets a 3-letter acronym or not for his performance. He was the people's MVP. He was our MVP, and damn it, he deserves it. I don't think
he was Kevin Durant's MVP. That's good enough for me.
He was, yeah, that's good enough for something. And Max, you really said it so well there regarding Jokic. And Banners, I like how you put it, right? Referencing Farzetta there at the beginning of the question, kind of saying, like, if we look up and that's it. If that's it, that's it. But I think what matters is that we appreciate what we saw. And while Iverson may have the MVPs to go along, and we hope, Embiid can bring the finals here, which is way more important than everything else, you can't take away what he did this year. And I know an MVP would go so far into cementing his legacy and, the whole 9 yards. It's just so tough because for me, I know I'll be able to brush past it and just be like, that's a bullshit MVP for Jokic. I just think it's like, I always love using this. Remember when Josh Hamilton hit like 45 home runs in the first round in the home run derby? No one remembers that Justin Morneau won that home run derby. So for me, this Embiid season is Josh Hamilton's 45 home runs. And sure, give the hardware to Nikola Jokic, but Joel Embiid won the points title this year. And this was a guy who we were worried was never even going to play. He played over 60 games this year. He won the scoring title. Damn it, I'm celebrating it. Take your stupid piece of hardware, Jokic, for the second year in a row. All that matters to me is if Embiid wins a finals or not in his career. He's going to be our MVP. He's going to be like Iverson. He's always going to have a courtside seat here and be loved. That's what matters to me. I can't change the establishment of the NBA. I can't do it. I hate Dave Silver and all his little henchmen who are going to be voting for this award. So you know what? I'll just brush it off. I will appreciate what I appreciate and brush it all to the side.
Mr. Banners,
it's
can
funny
I get two things before we move on?
Yeah.
One, if you guys want to go tinfoil hat, you guys know I'm always good for one of these an episode. The NBA would never let Joel Embiid win an MVP because that would mean admitting the process was a success in some sort.
Just confirmed.
And we know how much Dave Silver loves the city of Philadelphia after he gave us Big Collar.
It's not even tinfoil hat anymore with that. They outwardly hate it.
Okay, that's okay. This is definitely not tinfoil hat. Credit to @HaterMuse on Twitter. I'm not sure if you guys have seen all the spin-off clones of StatMuse. This is @HaterMuse. This was I screenshotted this onto my phone on April 3rd, so maybe not fully up to date, but you'll get the picture. As of April 3rd, the Nuggets were 16-25 against winning teams, and wins included in those games were against the Nets without Kevin Durant and James Harden, the Nets without Kevin Durant, Harden, and Kyrie, the Warriors without any of their big three, the Heat without Jimmy Butler, and the Warriors without Draymond Green twice. That's 6 wins out of their 16 were against those. And Nikola Jokic has averaged less points on worse efficiency against teams over 500. So I'm sure you can do some more digging on @HaterMuse on Twitter if you're interested. Obviously, the Embiid Jokic debate has been rampant this season, but just those numbers they stood out to me, right? Like that's what we've kind of banked ourselves on. Like think about all of Embiid's best moments were big games against the Bucks, were big games against. I mean, we couldn't beat the Nets for shit this year, but he had big games against them. He dominated the Cavaliers, who are an upstart team. I don't want to rant about this anymore because it is very frustrating as a fan. Watching a guy get like, it's not like this is a breakthrough season for Jokic. Jokic just did this last year, right? Like, we don't give the award to the guy who's just the number one points and assister at center every year or whatever it is, right? Like, context matters, and I think the context should point to Embiid this year, and it doesn't.
So I'm in a weird spot with this because I crossed a threshold like 2 weeks ago where I'm just like so sick and tired of hearing about individual awards because I'm so sick and tired of teams being kind of praised and expectations getting so high and then just like the stupidest things falling out for, like, I would almost rather lose in crushing fashion like the quadruple doink than having a coach that is just so nuclearly stupid to not be able to handle lineups and rotations. Like, I would almost be soul crushed than just baffled by stupidity.
I hear you.
That I just like I don't want to hear about individual awards anymore because I don't care. I really don't care. I just want them to win a title because that's every year. It's we only have one mission to win a title, but then the focus shifts about getting the focus shifts about like 60% through the year to the individual awards and I just remember the fervor that was created when Rudy Gobert won the Defensive Player of the Year over Ben Simmons. Like, why did I care so much about that? Like, that still kills me. Like, I don't know why I cared. But then another half of me is like looking, I'm seeing it in my crystal ball that Joel Embiid doesn't win MVP and Tyrese Maxey doesn't at least finish top 3 for most improved player. And it's just like, dude, like, I understand national media and other cities around the country. You can be kind of jaded by the outside view of Philadelphia, but for that to let you, like, for you to let that skew your view on sports and like how you vote is just like, why do I trust anybody? Why do establishments exist like Hall of Fames, or why do these awards exist? Like, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense because they're all just popularity contests anymore. But that's what I thought we had All-Star games and Pro Bowls for the people to make their pettiness known. But you take all that and an objective view into these awards and Hall of Fames, which just apparently doesn't happen, which is just overstated by baseball every year. It's just none of it makes sense. None of it matters. Like none of it matters, which is the ultimate kind of depressing stance because for some reason,
Nihilist Banners has entered the chat.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I don't know. I don't care anymore. I don't know why I care, but I think I can just see myself being disappointed by just people choosing to not recognize greatness as a slight, not even to the players, but to the perceived people they don't even know from a city they've never traveled to. So, welcome to the show where everything's made up and nobody cares.
And the points don't matter.
Yeah,
that's right.
The points apparently
don't matter.
Don't,
just like you're an NBA team executive with a couple burner Twitter accounts. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Maybe that's why we're a joke, because we've actually hired jokes. Let's talk about some fun stuff, though. And there's a game going on right now, boys. This is where we make our bread and butter.
Score update
right?
coming. Give me a sec.
This is where we make the money.
Oh, Josh has got it on
here. It's what? So it's middle of the third right now, Josh.
Going into the bottom of the third.
It looks like
Johan Camargo
stepping up.
Johan Camargo. Hey, listen. The Phillies have started off strong, and yesterday was a huge comeback win. No runs, no nothing, no activity until the eighth inning. Huge 5-run eighth inning here for the boys against the Mets, and that just makes it so much sweeter that it comes against the Mets, which again stands for must end the season, not the Metropolitans. In case anybody needs to know, it makes it that much sweeter, boys. Phillies have started off strong. So let's talk about it, all right? Early takeaways from this Phillies team, Josh.
Oh, man. And it's very early, but the early takeaways from the Phillies is everything's going to par at the moment. Defense sucks. The bats are hot. And, the pitching, we'll wait and see. That's really my main early takeaways. It's kind of like it's been rare, right? These last 3 years, you kind of really don't know what you get. This year just feels a little bit more predictable, and it definitely feels a lot more sustainable. And no, I don't expect Nick Nelson to come out there and look lights out for 4 or 5 or whatever, how many innings he put up yesterday. Looked fantastic doing it. But that game right there, I hope, becomes a microcosm of the season. And no, I'm not talking about 5-run comebacks every night, but me texting my buddies, texting people where it's like, oh no, same old Phil's team, and then they do something different. They come back.
Show a sign of life.
They show a sign of life, which us fans,
like a web gem from Bryson Stott at second base.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now the defense has been cooking today. But my main takeaway at this point, which is again very early, is just that these bats are not dead. And I think we are very accustomed to see, and how can you not, right? 7 innings of just lifeless baseball. You're like, oh man, there's nothing really else to watch. I don't know. Maybe Winning Time by the Lakers documentary is pretty good. Maybe I'll put that on. And then bam, 5 runs, 1 inning with the meat of your order. All started off with an Alec Boehm walk, mind you. I have no ill will towards our guy Alec Boehm here. My main early takeaway, though, other than everything here, is starting pitching may be a little bit suspect. Ranger Suarez, I am not worried about. He missed most of spring training. He was kind of screwed by Boehm's errors. Zach Wheeler's pitching pretty well tonight with no warm up games. I don't know, man. Nola looked pretty good, but
Nola was cruising. I was so ready to victory lap Nola, and then he got rocked for that home run, and I felt my world shattering around me.
I think this season is simply going to come down to starting pitching. If starting pitching can hold their own, this team's a legitimate contender in the playoffs. I just hold my reservations about Knowles. Gibson looked lights out. I'm not counting on that night in and night out, but the bullpen looks damn good so far, except. Real quick, fellas, did Brad Hand look awful last night? I mean, I know he got the job done, but it looked like Brandon Workman up there to me.
I did not catch the end of the game last night. Honestly.
Yeah, he was a little high and low.
I thought they were dead, and I looked at my phone at 10:30 and saw they won 5-4, and I thought I was tripping.
Yeah. He was a little high and low, but it's early in the season. They'll figure that out.
Fair enough.
Max, what are your early takeaways, man? Are there
Banners,
any
I'm hitting you with a reverse card here. You go. I didn't get to hear you talk about baseball last week.
Yeah,
I know you got
call.
it all. You're all pent up, so get it going. Speak for me here. Speak for both of us.
I'm not worried about the bats. I won't be worried about the bats. I won't be worried about the bats until they show me for over 2 weeks that they're silent, in which case I'll call for a shakeup. And I'm not worried. Like, to me, I feel in my heart that, like, even if they're dead for 2 weeks, I know they're going to come back with like a minor change. There's always that one prospect that needs to get called up, that one lineup change that turns it over, that kind of flips the switch.
That Mickey Moniak returning from injury.
I wanted to hold out hope, and I really think him coming back to this lineup. Vierling has started the season a lot slower than I thought he would have. That doesn't mean he is not going to be a major league platoon player. But I think Moniak, the way he's playing with Kevin Long as his hitting coach, he could be at least an average center fielder. I did not expect to be this confident in a pitching staff as the starting pitchers and the bullpen. I really did not expect this. Seranthony Dominguez returning is not only a heartwarming story, but it is just a wonderful thing to see. I love it.
He looked good.
He looked good all spring training. He looks really good in the first limited action in the season. Brad Hand looks like he's lost some of this stuff back from. I mean, he's not the guy he was back in Cleveland a couple of years ago, where he was closing 40 games a season, where he was saving 40 games a season. He's lost some of it, but he's still a very effective later back end of the bullpen piece. Nick Nelson came out of nowhere, which I think is if he can keep being. Yeah, exactly. I think. I mean, Dombrowski's his MO is always, I'm gonna go find the guy. I'm gonna go find guys that throw extremely hard out of the bullpen. I'm gonna go find a lot of them, and we'll find the we'll find the ones that work. I know, which is crazy because Klentak tried to play. Let's find some sinker ballers and stick them in the bullpen, which hurt my brain. But I think the huge thing is Corey Knebel is back to having his best stuff. after years of injury as well, because even the second night in a row he pitched, he didn't have his best stuff, but he still got the job done. He was a little wild, but he did the
Saw the
work,
velocity.
which is something like which is crazy because for so long the Philadelphia Phillies have not had pitchers that even when they don't have their best stuff, they get the job done. Which is it is a novel concept to watch and not just hear and speak about in theory. Joe Girardi hasn't made me scream at my TV in the first 4 games, which is kind of wild. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect
4 days without
I didn't
an
expect
accident.
it to take this long. So we'll see. I'm encouraged. I really haven't found much to be upset about yet, other than Bohm continuing to assert he can play third base. That's the only part I'm upset about. Dude, I say I hate this place weekly, okay? Whether it's on 76, whether it's on 95, the Vine Street, even just at work. I say I hate this fucking place so many times. I don't blame him because everybody says that, no matter where they live. I really don't blame the kid. And in fact, I've always been one of the guys who's held out hope for Alec Boehm because I love the like who he is as a baseball player. I think he has huge potential. He owned up to that. No, he didn't even no prompting, no nothing. Didn't even have time to go talk to a PR guy to have him get coached and anything. He just went up to the mic and was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm sorry. You guys called me. You're right. I said it. That's on me.
He made
I'm
3
really
errors,
sorry,
man. You're supposed to be frustrated when you're playing that bad. This guy's a professional athlete. I want people who give a shit, right? Like that's what we've seen a lot of. We've seen a lot of what's the word? Not lethargy. Lethargy. We've seen a lot of lethargy out of the Phillies the last couple of years, and it's it's nice to see a guy who gives a shit. Like it feels like that. I'm gonna say that locker room, that clubhouse, right? You gotta go make sure you get the baseball slang right. Feels like that clubhouse knows they have a group that can achieve something here, right? Like it feels like. I mean, we're 4 games in, right? So I'm not gonna do full rah-rah speech here, but it does feel like there's a much stronger vibe. Like every team is coming in the year is like, yeah, we had a great spring training and love these guys, can't wait to play, hit with them all year. But like it feels like there's a much more genuineness, right? Like it feels like you can see Schwarber and Bryce and Castellanos and Hoskins, just chilling out, drinking a couple Miller Lights in the clubhouse or whatever the official beer of the Phillies is at now.
boys. I love Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, same.
It's incredible. What I was saying was the only thing that kind of annoys me is we've all been there. Like we say we can do something, but we really can't. Like we think we have the confidence to. Like Alec, it might be time to think that you might not be able to play third base at a major league level. Like I'm sorry, but it might be time to admit it. So I still have confidence in the bat. I still have confidence in you. So just maybe
the only issue
think
is
about
that what happens if you do pull him from the starting third base?
Well,
what's that domino?
My train of thought goes down. I really wouldn't be surprised, guys, if for about a week around midseason you see Nick Castellanos at third base because that's what he came up as in the Tigers organization.
Just try.
It's not going to go well, boys. I don't think it's going to go well. So just be ready for that. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. Just be ready for that. So we'll see. I'm also not excited to continue to watch Didi Gregorius anymore, but we'll see.
It's our hero from last night.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Everybody runs into one every now and again. But if that's going to stop from playing every day, I think I'm kind of over that.
I gotcha.
Let's see. Anybody, hey, Max? Did I get everything? Do you? What do you feel?
No, I think you nailed it. I think I'm just happy to touch on one last thing. I think I'm happy that we do not have to worry about the bats. Like just the last thing I'll leave it on is last night's performance gives them an extra 10 days of leeway. Like they were as lifeless as I literally turned the game off. Like last night was a perfect example of why I do not watch baseball nearly as much as you two do, because I tried to stick it out in the first 4 innings. They were brutal. They were slow. I watched the Mets go up 3-0 in the first 10 minutes, and the Phillies had 2 hits by that point. I'm like, dude, I've spent almost an hour watching this. I'm good for now. I'll check in later. I checked in 30 minutes later, and they were still down 3-0. I'm like, okay, chalk this one up. We go again tomorrow, all right? But you stumble into what the hell? How did the Phillies win 5-4? And you see a 5 or an 8th, right? Like that kind of
baseball,
stuff.
baby.
That pulls you back in. Like I made sure to not miss tonight. Like I turned the game on my phone a couple minutes ago mid show. Like I'm committed. So it's nice to have a team that you can get excited behind.
All right. No halftime today. We're gonna jump right into second half. No.
That's for us to laugh
No
about and you all to
halftime
wonder
here.
why.
Yeah. We won't. We'll tell you sometime.
One day
Maybe.
when you're older.
I don't know.
When your kids are older, we'll
Yeah,
tell you.
exactly. Play-in tournament. This is gonna be interesting. Okay, so rapid fire, real quick. Who's making it out of the play-in tournament in the East and in the West? Okay, Max. Start with the West.
The West.
The West.
Okay, I'm gonna take that as East, and I'm gonna say Nets at 7, Cavs at 8. They're just both better teams than it. I'll say this: Atlanta could, right? Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to be dumb enough to bet against Trae Young in a best of one playoff game.
Thank you.
I can't do it. Now that I'm speaking it out loud. No, Nets at 7, Hawks at 8. I can't do it.
Thank you. That's better.
Sorry, I wanted to.
And what about the West?
Honestly, I hate to do this to the Timberwolves because they've been playing really, really well, really since the All-Star break. Mm-hmm. Give me the Clippers at 7, winning tonight, and give me the San Antonio Spurs to get in.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yep.
Remember earlier when I said there's a coaching trifecta that I have a hard time going against? Chris Finch. Yep. Chris Finch is destined for a good career in this league, but in a best of one against Greg Popovich, I'll say this: if Greg Popovich gets outcoached by Chris Finch in a best of one, I'll say that maybe Pop doesn't care as much as he used to. And I don't want to say he's coasting by any means. He's still an absolute genius, still basketball wizard. But I think that would make me question, like, maybe he's on his way out. That would truly make me think it for the first time.
Oof. Josh, do you agree on all accounts?
I'll go real quick. It's Nets and Hawks for me in the East. I'm going to go with the T-Wolves by a slim margin because I completely thought of the Spurs too. For me, it's more of a desperation thing. Think about it. It's going to be a
Wolves
home game, right, for the Timberwolves, right? They'll both be home games. They haven't seen playoff basketball, like, I think, since I've pretty much been alive. So I think the Timberwolves have to make the playoffs this year. I want to give it to the Spurs a little bit for your exact same logic, but Nets, Hawks, and then T-Wolves, Clippers in the West.
Okay, so you think the Wolves win tonight and the Clippers win the 8th seed game?
Honestly, I don't know how they do it, like because that was what I was caught up on too. But give them 2 chances. I think they got them in 1.
I'm echoing Max's sentiments here, just because if the Clippers, if Paul George didn't come back so like crazily, I would say the Timberwolves. But like there's something about that Clippers team that is just like
bunch of professionals.
They're resilient. Like that's a bunch of professionals right there.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I got to go.
Just
Clippers
don't play defense, and this like the Spurs are also a super super high paced team, and that I'll tell you this: if we end up getting Timberwolves Spurs for the 8th seed, like I'm taking the over, even if it's like 242.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Like that's a game to watch as a neutral, but that is like I just think the Timberwolves got I think they got a really bad matchup draw in the Clippers, and I think that. This is kind of just like betting on history, but like a bad coin flip, and it could go the Spurs way, kind of deal.
Yeah, and I think I got to go Spurs just because I brought up the Spurs because, boys, I can just feel DeJounte Murray grabbing votes, the third place votes away from Maxey for most improved player. I love what Murray's done, but this is just going to be a dagger to watch. Somebody like it's going to be a dagger to keep Maxey out of the top 30.
They need to remove second year players from consideration for most improved. I think that like just the way the league shakes out, right?
I don't care about individual.
What do you mean?
Well, I think it would be really interesting if you're not eligible for most improved player until your third year in the league.
That's interesting. We can let's actually, you know what? I'm going to table that. We're going to throw a pin in that, and then we're going to come back to that. That's an interesting discussion. Official NBA predictions, whatever you want to call them. Let's go series by series, and I gotta pull these up.
We'll bang them out.
No, go.
Hold me to it. As the resident rambler of the group, please hold me to it. Do not let me talk too much.
Oh boy. Do we have there's like 2 I'm unsure of.
I got it
Does
pulled up.
anybody
I got it
have
pulled up.
the?
You want me to take the point here?
Yeah,
Here we go. I got
take
him.
point.
So here we go. I got you. So we said Clippers, Timberwolves. All right. So
Yeah, I guess we're
round
gonna have to do this
one,
based on our own
Josh.
playing predictions too.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll rattle through them all.
All
We'll
right.
start in the East, not the West. I'm assuming. Uh,
Thank you. Said
there we
Josh
go.
gets it.
There we go. The Heat are going to play the Hawks. They're going to get taken to 6 games and get scared, but the Heat are going to come out of that one.
Yep.
Boom!
Agreed.
Here comes a big one, boys. Right off the bat. Give me the Celtics over the Nets. I don't feel confident in it. That's for damn sure. But I picked against the Celtics. Anytime I see what the Celtics are up to, they look unstoppable. So I don't do this confidently, but someone's got to win that series. I'm going to take the Celtics. I know Williams isn't back quite yet, but digits. When's Williams coming back? We got a timetable.
I'm not sure, but I think he's on pace to like. I think it was a little bit more on pace than last time we discussed it.
Right, right. It's kind of crazy. I think he will play, but regardless, man, I know the Nets are clicking, and I know the Nets are back at full strength. But I can't remember who said it, but they were basically saying like Kyrie is not used to playing every day, and I know you have more off time during the playoffs. I think the Celtics are too damn hot. That's my big pick of the whole playoffs. Honestly, is the Celtics take the
Wow,
Nets.
that's big.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I do think the Raptors beat the Sixers. Give me the Bucks over the Bulls. That's an absolute no-brainer. Over on the West, Suns they could beat anyone. Doesn't even matter. I know who they're playing. The Mavs without Doncic. Listen, I don't even know what's going on, but after seeing Doncic get injured in the last game, that gives me enough pause to take the Jazz. As much as I don't want to take the Jazz, I feel like I have to. Warriors over the Nuggets. Maybe I'm kind of just spiteful against Jokic because there is without a doubt a huge mismatch there at the center position. But you could say the same thing about the Raptors Sixers series, and you see how I feel about that. So give me the Warriors. I'm not going to bet against Curry and Clay and Steve Kerr, maybe ever, unless they see the Suns. And then what do we got? The Grizzlies are going to play either the Clippers or the Timberwolves in my mind. I think that'll be a very fun series. I won't lie. As much as the Grizzlies have been a great team this year, I am interested to see how that series goes, but I will take the Grizzlies. They're too damn hot. When it's all said and done, I think we see a repeat of last year's finals, and I think the Bucks win again, gentlemen. I hate saying this. I hate picking repeat teams. I never pick repeat teams ever. That's like against my thing, but damn it. The Bucks are so good. They're such a complete team. And I don't think they're going to be a dynasty. I think it'll be like 2 years, then they'll never be able to get that team together again. But I do think that team is here to stay. I give the Bucks all my props here. Bucks win it again.
All right, Max. Here we go. Let's see.
All right. I got it up in
Heat
front of
versus
me.
Hawks. You got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm going. Yeah, I'll go Hawks at 8 here. I think Josh has this nailed perfectly. I think the Hawks, especially because this is an in-division matchup, I think the Hawks are going to be able to grab at least a game or two. I could see this
We've
going
seen it
7.
before.
I've seen it before. Exactly. I think the Hawks are they're feisty. They're most certainly in the feisty tier. I hate doing this. You know what? Just because I can't do, I'm very much on track with Josh for a lot of things. So I'm going to take the Sixers here, right in the upset. I am going to take
After
the
not
Bucks.
picking them earlier.
You got to talk yourself into things sometimes. This will be the only one I give a number to. The Bucks are going to sweep the Bulls in the first round, and I'll take the Celtics in 7. I really don't want to go carbon copy of what Josh is doing, but yeah, the Nets they suck at defense. They're so bad at playing defense, and that's not something you can get away with. Like especially when the Celtics at their best play really really good defense. So through one round in the East, it's all the chalk 1, 2, 3, 4. On the West side of things, I am going to go Suns against Spurs. I think the Suns will win that game. Will win that series pretty convincingly. I don't know what's up with Luka. The Jazz are the ultimate frauds, though. I'm going to take Dallas in what'll inevitably be a really long and drawn out and probably like the forgotten series of the first round.
Those 10 o'clock games, just forget about them. I know you'll be watching Digits, and I probably will too, but I won't like it.
I'll say this. The one offset I do disagree on, I think the Nuggets are going to find a way to pull this off somehow. Jokic kills the Warriors every time they play. And honestly, it's really just a matter of how hot are Steph and Clay going to be. and I don't know, something just gives me, someone gives me weird vibes about the series, and you need to pick one unlikely upset in the NBA, and I feel like this one's sneaky enough where not a lot of people will expect it. I really can, and then for the last one, I actually really did consider putting the Clippers in over the Grizzlies here. I think this is going to be the series of the first round. I think this goes 7 games. I think that you're going to see a little bit of everything. You're going to see some close games. There's going to be a moment in the series where the Clippers are up either 2-1 or 2-0 or something crazy, and you're like, oh man, the Clippers are going to run away with this series. I think that series is going to be all over the place. I think it's going to be a really fun one to watch. Going into the second round, boys, I'm talking myself into it. I made a very bold declaration on Twitter months ago that whoever got the Heat in the second round had a free trip to the conference finals, and I will not waver from that stance. If I pick if the Raptors go through, they will make it to the conference finals. The Heat are as fraudulent as it comes in terms of a legitimate playoff threat. I don't see them beating the Sixers or the Raptors here. On the other side of things, this is tough because Boston always plays Milwaukee really, really tough. I do have the Bucks edging it out here because I think that Giannis is the best player on that
Right.
team.
Are you going to be the guy who picks against Milwaukee? Like, that's what it comes down to.
Exactly, and I don't want to. I'll say this: whoever wins this half of the bracket is going to the NBA Finals. I think the Celtics are, as of this moment in time, are the second best team in the East. I hate to say it. I think that either one of these teams would wax Miami. I think the Celtics actually could really, really put up a number on Miami in a potential conference final should they meet. But as of now, I'll keep it Sixers Bucks into the East Finals. Jumping to the West, give me the Suns in what'll be their toughest series in the West against the Mavericks. I think Luka will be healed up by then. The Mavs have played really, really good defense all year, and I think a slow pace series is in order there. And that actually kind of that's about as bad as a matchup I think the Suns can run into in the West is a guy like Luka who can dominate harder than Chris Paul or Devin Booker. While also having good quality backup guards to kind of alleviate the pressure off of him. On the other side, Nuggets Grizzlies is this other second round. I actually have the Grizzlies 4-1 this series. I know I don't want to put numbers. I think that will not be a close series. Denver has really, really struggled with Memphis in their matchups this year. And I actually think Memphis has a pretty nice path to the to the Western Conference Finals, regardless of who comes out of Golden State Denver. So Eastern Conference Finals, I'm not going to pick it against the Bucks. I'm just not. I think that this is obviously a bit of an ideal Cinderella, bracket type scenario for the Sixers because we've seen the Sixers play. I would say their best games of the year against the Bucks, and I would say I would have more hope in a Bucks conference finals than a Celtics one at this point because I'm not really sure who on our perimeter will be able to stop the other one of Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum in that hypothetical. I will take the Bucks in 7. I actually, another Twitter shout out of mine. I said that the Sixers falling to I actually thought this would be in the context of the 2-3 matchup, but I just, in my mind, I cannot shake the image of losing a game 7 out in Milwaukee in some round of the playoffs. And then on the other side, Suns Grizzlies, I think the Suns win that series comfortably. Experience will shine through. The Grizzlies will have I don't want to say will have exhausted themselves, but they'll be able to hold their head high after a really successful season. But I have the Suns winning the title, and I just don't see how. I don't see how the young Memphis Grizzlies are going to stop a team that smells blood in the water like that. I think this is the rare case where the repeat is the right call, and it feels so stupid to say, but the Suns have been the best team in the NBA basically since day one, and I'm not going to pick against them now. I think that team is about as perfectly constructed as you can be in this current, iteration of the NBA with current rules and the way that you're looking at player roles to function. Also, one last quick thing I'll leave you with. Should the Suns do come out with this title, that would give JaVale McGee his 4th ring in 6 seasons, making him being able to get to 4 faster than Shaq did.
Winner.
Crazy to think about, man. I'm going to go through this real quick. I think the Heat beat the Hawks. I think that's a terrible series to watch, pretty much.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it goes 7 games. I think it's just going to be an awful, awful series to watch.
I think that series has a lot of blowouts.
It's not going to be fun. I'm actually picking the Nets to upset the Celtics here. I just don't believe in the Celtics being able to do this in the playoffs for some reason. Like to me, it just doesn't seem. They might be able to next year. I don't know if they keep this whole core together and this whole energy, but I just don't believe them continuing to be able to be this Celtics team. let's see, the Bucks, obviously, I think I don't know if they sweep the Bulls. I think they
The
win in
Bulls
5
are full
games.
dive mode, Banner. I promise
Yeah.
you that's the
Yeah.
only one I feel comfortable putting any kind of number on in this whole playoffs. I legitimately think the Bucks will sweep.
It's going to be a drubbing of the Chicago Bulls. Like I said, I think I go. Obviously, I think I still go the Sixers here in the 4 or 5 matchups. So they're going to face the Heat. I think they beat the Heat handily. I still think Doc Rivers is fired after an Eastern Conference appearance. I think the Bucks. I think the Bucks sweep the Nets. Honestly, that might be the series that I put a number on. I think they would
I
sweep
get
the
down
Nets
with
because
that.
that is just that's like a drub. It's going to be hilarious to watch. Of course, my phone decides to do this. There we go. Suns destroy the Spurs. I think that goes like 5 games. I think the Mavs beat the Jazz. Warriors over the Nuggets just because I don't believe in that Denver team at all. Grizzlies over the Clippers. Suns destroy the Mavericks. Let's see. The Warriors. Oh, man. That's going to be tough. That's going to be a really fun series, the Warriors versus the Grizzlies. I do think the Warriors come out on top, though, in that one, just because of the experience there. I think the Grizzlies are going to be a force to be reckoned with for a very, very long time in this league. They're just a really fun team to watch. Man, I think it's going to be the Suns and the Suns and the Bucks in the finals again, but I do think the Suns win this championship over the Bucks. I don't think the Bucks are going to be able to stay currently constructed as much as they like to think that they are for much longer. I think it's going to be the Suns, and I think this might actually kick off a pretty long run of Suns championships because this is a very, very good team. I know.
As long as
This is
Chris
very
Paul is their point guard and he's healthy, like they have that. Like they have Booker locked down, they have Bridges locked down, they have Ayton. Not actually, they don't have Ayton's when they don't have lockdown.
yeah.
But
Well,
I
I can
don't
see
want to
I
shit
can
on DeAndre Ayton, but he is the most easily
the weakest
replaceable
link.
out of that starting lineup.
Yeah. They have Monty Williams, and I think what they're going to do is they're going to try and invest in a point guard early in one of the next couple drafts with their first round pick, and have Chris Paul mentor him. And that's just you're good for a long time. So I think the Suns are my winner this year. I would like to see it actually. I think that's a really fun team to root for or just watch. But yeah, that's our rapid fire. Boys, you want to do some tap outs before we get out of here, or what are we thinking, huh?
Anyone got anything?
I think I did have something.
Yeah. Think about it. Philadelphia just reinstituted their mask mandates.
That's actually what it was.
No, yeah. So I mean, hey,
so dumb.
Yeah, it never really. It's stupid, but it never really bothered me in the first place. So just don't like. If it bothers you, I get it. It bothers me too. Just don't ruin it for everybody else. You know what I mean? We all want to enjoy summer as much as we can. So I guess if you're going to a place where you have to wear a mask, just do it real quick. It's not gonna kill you.
I'll piggyback on that to kind of finish this dual tap out. And make no mistake, we are 3 guys who have been about refer back to our earlier comments about Thibault Matisse. If you want to get our general stance as a podcast about, if you want to make this into a political thing, it's pretty easy to figure out where we stand, right? I will say this mask mandate is an absolute joke. It's the product of a local government that is floundering and flailing and really just trying to do something to pat themselves on the back. If you really, I'll leave it at this. The Children's Hospital, CHOP, right? Like the primary medical authorities in our very prestigious city said that we're nowhere close to the level that they would recommend mandating an indoor mask mandate at. We're about 75, actually we're about 30% of the number that they put out. And that was 3 days before the city announced yesterday about this new mask mandate. So I'll say this, the only people that are going to suffer from this are businesses, the same people who have been suffering, those in the service industry. Don't get your favorite local bar or restaurant in trouble. I have no intention of wearing a mask any more than I absolutely need to. But on the other hand, I don't want to see places that I like going to for a beer or for Quizzo or for food getting shut down or having to pay out tens of thousands of dollars in fines because quite frankly, the city of Philadelphia wants to kind of suck its own dick here. I don't hate to put it that vulgarly, but make no mistake, this is not a matter of COVID spiking to dangerous levels. This is a matter of a city government who has been failing on all fronts, trying to do something to say they did something.
Everybody who's out there who may be watching or listening to this, take note of this when the primaries and election day comes up, because like Max outlined, this is he's right about everything he said. So do it just because you have to, but remember this when the day comes to put a little check mark on a piece of paper or press a button on a screen. Josh, do you have anything?
Not really, fellas. I got a last Alva Sports Update show coming up, and it sucks to wear masks. That's it.
How the time flies.
Wow, finale? Your finale on OSU?
Yeah, we got my personal finale Thursday, and then the next week it's just all seniors. So I'm anchoring the last 2 blocks. So it's like it's kind of like
it's your farewell tour.
Thursday, yeah.
You're
my farewell
Josh
tour.
Mike Krzyzewski Saffron right now.
No, absolutely
Coach
not.
K's
I go
coming
out
back
the way
next
you
year.
should. Yeah, let's hope I'm
That's
not coming
hilarious.
back next year.
Well, if you weren't here to join us live, you can always catch us wherever you get your podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, Apple, anywhere in between. You find somewhere we're not, we'll get there. All you have to do is let us know. As always, we are Trust the Process Live, brought to you by My New Philly, where something's always new and everything's always Philly, but nothing is too excited because we're not allowed to exclaim anymore.
Nope. It's live.
So
it's not live. It's just live.
Yeah. We're not.
Nobody
will ever yell into a mic anymore on this show. We're simply just talking anymore. Nobody will exclaim anything. So, yeah. Have a good week, Philly. We'll see you next time. Don't go wear a mask. Do your thing. Go Sixers. Go Phils.
Wow, I don't know if I've ever flip-flopped that hard on a show before.